Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, recording to you on live at emosocialclub.tv on a Zoom call near you. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this morning, afternoon, whatever you think that 12 p.m. is to you, with Maggie from Glimmers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm stoked.
Yeah. Maggie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your band, and what you do.
Yes, so I am the singer and pianist of my band Glimmers. We are based out of Atlanta. If you like Mayday Parade, All Time Low, we are the In Crowd. We are hopefully the band for you. We are super excited. We've only been a band for 9 months now, which is crazy.
Damn.
But we've been doing a lot of stuff this year in the pandemic, and we're stoked to continue moving forward and hopefully play shows at some point.
Right. I heard about you originally because of your pop punk covers. That's where I originally found you. When you reached out to us, Lizzie was like, Brian, Maggie just reached out to us. We got to get her on. So I was like, oh yeah, I know Maggie. Maggie does really good covers on TikTok now, but I know you were doing them just kind of on Instagram before, if I remember correctly, or just kind of posting them everywhere.
Yeah, I did it. I started doing them on Twitter. And I think the first one that I did was Dead and Gone by State Champs. Because I'm a huge State Champs fan. And when I was 16, I actually got to sing with them because they saw one of my covers and they invited me up, which was that's crazy dream. But I continued doing them on Twitter. And then when TikTok happened, I was like, I'm just going to start doing them there too. Just post them everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. On your TikTok, you're super at the viral level, I feel. So how has been managing that? Because it's you're already creating other content and now you have to create more content. And I know I've seen some other creators who are so while I'm for one example, I know the photographer, K Darg, she was so when I'm taking photos of people, I have to be creating content of me taking photos of people. Is that something you have been trying to figure out how to do?
Yeah. And you know what? My band, they love me for it, but they also are like, how do you sleep? How do you have time to exist? Because every day I think to myself, okay, I want to post a cover. What's another way that I can engage with new people and do it in a fun way while also hopefully spreading the word about Glimmers? So for me, with the covers, I try every day or every other day to make one. And usually it's a 60-second video. So it's not super time consuming. But you're completely right. When we're coming up with big pieces of content for the bands, like music videos or when we were on the road or things like that, we have behind the scenes content. We have Q&As that we do because we're already there together. So why not make more stuff together?
Yeah.
So we really, because we're also best friends, we like to showcase the fun things that we do that are outside of music too. And we're coming up with more ideas to do that. But when we're together, we just think, why not? Let's just goof off and have someone record it.
Very true. Yeah. I want to put you in this category of people who see it as content before the music, which is not to say anything negative, because obviously I think it just helps you create that sort of audience around you, which then creates the audience around the things that you're doing. And if it's the band and you're creating all this stuff. So to know that content is not only just being made, but also it's getting eyes on it and it's getting some enthusiasm behind it. I'm sure that's pretty motivating.
Exactly. And, I started TikTok last March. I had no idea what I was doing. I felt like a boomer. I was like, I don't understand how this works. How do you edit on the app? I don't get it. But then I think it was last summer, it was June or July. I had the idea because Hamilton just came out on Disney Plus, and I'm a huge musical theater kid too. So I love incorporating that interest that I've always had into my TikTok because I don't get to do it as much anymore. So it's just kind of a fun extra thing I like to do. But I thought, why not cross over a Hamilton song and the pop punk scene and make like a pop punk rendition of this Hamilton song.
Sure.
And so I did it, and it exploded, and I didn't expect it to. But kind of from there, I thought of TikTok, especially as a place where I can not only, you know, sing my pop punk covers, but I can use other interests that I have, like musical theater or, you know, fashion or pop culture or anything like that, and kind of spin it in a way that it hopefully gets more eyes on our music too. So it's a nice, I like TikTok because you don't have to stress about it. It's just showcasing who you are. And if people like it, then they'll usually go and check out what you do more professionally.
I feel like that's news for Lizzie, because Lizzie messages me all the time stressing about our TikTok.
Well, it's more because I'm like, Brian, I know you have other things that we can do. And he's like, I'm not going to touch this app. And I'm like,
I don't love it. It's not my favorite.
And that's okay. Like, it's not for everybody. Like my bandmates, they use it, but they're like, we don't want to do this every day. And I totally understand that. And I love Instagram. Like, Instagram is probably my favorite, you know, just because I love pictures. I love reels now. That's all connected now. But for me, I always tell them, use TikTok. Just post a video talking about something stupid and use the right hashtags. And there you go. Like, just be you. But it's not for everyone.
No, yeah. It's just, like you said, boomer style, you know, going into it. And just, I as somebody who edits video, as somebody who edits audio, I'm just like, this sucks. I hate editing on it. And like, of course you could just take like a straight video and post it, which I think is the first one that I did back in the day when we first got our account. And I was like, this sucks and I hate it. And I was like, I need to put a song over this. So I played it off of my computer and just put my phone up next to it like a voiceover. And I'm like, fine, I don't fucking care. Like, it's going out. I just move on. Yeah. And like, if it gets one view, I'm like, cool, I don't care.
Yeah. It's funny for me because I've kind of edited videos before, but not to a professional extent. Like, I've used Premiere. I went to art school, so I have like a basic understanding of that. But I like TikTok for the reason that you hate it, which is it's like DIY, hold your phone up to your computer and play something. Like, you can find ways to work around and still put out something that people can watch. So
fair. See, I'm like, no, gotta have like a microphone. When we did this content day recently, and I'm like, no, I gotta set everything up. And then when we were done, I was like, yeah, I unplugged that microphone, unfortunately, and none of the audio got recorded. So now I'm like, yeah, why did I do all this shit? Like, I should have just put it in, you know, like put my camera up to something. I don't know. So I totally get it.
Yeah, I'm lucky that our guitarist Alex Downtain, in terms of gear and stuff for our live setup and our live show, he handles all of that. And he is super like technically in gear focused. Like, he knows what everything does. He can troubleshoot really well. So he handles that stuff. I handle the social media side of things. So together we make a good team.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like twin powers activate. So it's like it all comes together.
Exactly. Oh, I told him, I was like, thank you for understanding this, because I don't.
It's very, I've always acknowledged that like the skills of being in a band are always very specific, and rarely do they actually matter about the music part of it, which sucks. I wish it was more like most up and coming artists, most independent artists were more focused on needing to create music or being musicians and having the gear for that. But it's really like, no, you got to know how to edit a video, edit a photo. You got to know how to do social media. You have to know all these apps. You have to post all the time. You have to know the best times to post. It's like all this stuff that you're like, dude, I just want to write like a cool song. And it's like, it actually doesn't, you don't even need to. You can just write a shitty song. It doesn't matter. But like, if you know this other stuff, it all builds up into that. And it's really, it's this nice thing about like people who are making music now realizing like, it doesn't matter. Just do this.
Yeah. And for us, luckily, because I was solo originally. So even though Glimmers has been a band for less than a year, I was a solo act for 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I did everything by myself. And it got to the point before I met these guys and they started playing as my backing band, because we did that before the official move to being a band.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling kind of overwhelmed and I was like, how am I going to do all of this? Like, I don't know anything technically, I can edit stuff to a simple point, but I need help. And so what's cool about our dynamic is we all take like a separate responsibility outside of the music.
Mm-hmm.
And that really makes a difference. And then when we make music, I think especially for what's coming next, we're excited to be in a bit more of a bubble, like as we're writing and producing.
Yeah.
Even though I'll still post content and bug them about, guys, you have to make this and you have to make this. And like, let's continue, promoting the music we have out now. But I think it'll be nice to take a little bit of a break from it in the next few months and actually just write and record and figure out what we want to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially because you have a new EP that's coming out in a few weeks. So I'm assuming you have most of that done and then you would be moving on to doing more, either like an LP or another EP or just singles at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a very type A person. So we had all of this. We had the songs and the music videos done by like November of last year. So I always am thinking ahead. I'm like, okay, when do we want to release this? And so we were luckily really good about getting everything done and just kind of scheduled. So where now we just get to share it and promote it and do the fun part of just letting it go and seeing what people think. But yeah, we're already thinking ahead on who do we want to record with next? How many songs do we want to do? So I'm always thinking.
You sound like the type that has like your calendar is very fleshed out, like for as long as you need to. You've got it on your phone and you're like ready to. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yes. I had to get a day planner, like a physical day planner.
Oh, wow.
Which I never thought would work for me because I live on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called, can we cuss on this show?
Please.
Okay. It's called Carpe fucking Diem. And through each of the months, like there's checklists and it says another fucking checklist. And like, you just write stuff down in each of the margins. And it is so good. And it has helped me so much, especially with this EP, because we've had a lot more content to put out.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I am very scheduled. I'm very caffeinated all the time. Yeah, but it's a good thing. I'm glad that I'm organized. It helps me out.
I totally recognize it in myself, and I'm like, yeah, there you go. You're crushing it. You're doing it.
Well, with that too, so All Press had just debuted your latest single, By the Lip. So was that something that you have obviously planned ahead, and how did you kind of go with like executing that? Because I know we've also talked with some other bands recently who were also in the similar boat, and they were like, I'm not too sure, but it's cool. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking cool. So I just wanted to know how you guys went around about to getting there.
Yeah, so we're fortunate to be working with Big Picture Media, and they are so wonderful. And as far as PR companies go, there's a lot of really good ones, but I love that this one is all run by women. I just think that's so cool. And I believe they're based in New York too, but our publicist, Gabriella, has been, pitching the songs and hopefully trying to get cool features and things. And we've gotten some really cool, like pinch me type of press, which has been exciting. But we found out about alternative press like a week before. Yeah. So usually in other experience that I've had, we've found out about press at least 2 or 3 weeks before. And then that helps me kind of plan how to promote it and all of that stuff. But a week before she was like, good news. They like the song. They want to premiere it. I was like, yay. So a few days before, they also sent me questions, and I was so excited because, I've always read alternative press and I've been a big fan, obviously, But it wasn't just a premiere. They asked me about the EP and what it meant to us and like the process of making the video. So it was really cool when it came out last week to scroll through it. It's super long article and say, oh my God, like I was quoted and the video was shared. So It was super fun. But yeah, big picture media has been so good to us. So good.
We talked with a couple people recently about the all press stuff too, like Lizzie said, and it's like, man, back in the day, that was like the biggest shit, right? Like, that is the thing that I want to be in. I want myself featured in there, and it's like now that you're actually doing it, like, does it like you said, does it still pinch me, or is it like how does it feel to like actually like? Yeah. If you could talk to yourself back when you were, 15 or whatever, like picking up the magazine, going to Warped Tour and like all that kind of stuff, like how would you feel?
Yeah. I think it's easy, especially when you're in a band for a long time or you're in the scene for a long time, because it's all about building blocks, right? Mm-hmm. Like, unless you're Rebecca Black and you go viral after 24 hours, it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
So I think it's easy to just be like, oh, that's cool, and like not really think about how you once at 13 were like, I want to play Warped Tour one day. I want to be featured in AP. Like, I want to do all these things. And so I think that for us, especially being like a new band, like 9 months, we were all in that pinch me phase for that reason too, just because we're so new. But like you said, it can be easy just to be like, is this a big deal? Is it? But when you really think about it, and I'm a very sentimental person, so, I wrote a post about it, but when I was 12 and 13, like I made a list on my phone of like bucket list things that I want to do as a musician. And like one of them was to be in alternative press. Another one was to play Warped Tour, and I've gotten to do both. Yeah. So I know that if I got to talk to my past self, she would be crying. She'd be like, what? This is a dream come true. So you got to hold on to that. Like music scene can be kind of jaded, but it's good to be excited about things.
I think there's a lot of people who would just be like, yeah, I'm just like, all press. Like some people now would just be like, yeah, it's expected. And it's like, bruh,
is it expected though? Like,
I feel like some people, they're just like, yeah, eventually. It's like, bruh, like nothing's given to you. You gotta work for it.
Oh yeah. Nothing's guaranteed. And I think especially in rock music, like you can't have an ego, and a lot of people do. And that's unfortunate. But for me, like, and for the rest of the guys, we just love making music. So the fact that AP liked the song and wanted to share it, or anyone else, like that just makes us happy. So
yeah.
I think the fact that on your like bio, it says like Glimmers is about connection, and just kind of like routing it back. It's like, hey, we're just here for a good time, and we just want to like, interact with other people. That's more like what a lot of people I feel should be going for, rather than like, I want to be famous. Because if you're going in that, especially in like rock, I feel at this point, which is terrible to say, but like you're not, this is not going to happen.
Are there a lot of famous rock stars right now?
Yeah, but it's true though. And honestly, music takes so much work. Like if you just want to do it to get famous, then like I feel bad for you, because you're doing a lot of stuff that is time consuming and exhausting, and being in a rock club till 1 or 2 a.m. loading gear into your van. Like these are not necessarily fun things, but you do it for the music and you do it for a higher sense of purpose. So yeah, I've never been like, I want to be famous and that's why I want to make music. I want my music to hopefully inspire people and connect with people. And that in turn gives me the opportunity to like continue sharing it and, have us continue connecting with others. So.
You strike me as somebody who doesn't want to be like you don't need to be like on MTV, which doesn't play music videos, so I guess it's a bad representation of a like TV, like you're not at the Grammys, right? But you're like I am very happy being in my community and being able to play for as many people and being able to, I assume, have a career with it as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we definitely like, if we performed at the Grammys, no problem with that.
You're
on
not
my
saying
end.
no.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Like, you know, but like if your bucket list is like AP and Warped Tour, it's like rarely does somebody go from that and be like, man, if I'm on the Grammys with Elton John and you know, that kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, we talk about as a band, we talk about goals and stuff. And like for us, we want to travel. Obviously, we would love to, you know, open for bands like the band Camino or One Day All Time Low, or like be in that position to hopefully have those types of opportunities. But yeah, for us, we're just like, we want to have a good time. You know, we have a good time whether we're playing to 3 people at like a bar in Memphis, which we did, or, you know, playing to our sold out hometown show to 300 people, which we also did. So for us, we just have fun with each other, and either way, we're going to do it.
It's a good outlook.
Yeah. So how did you meet the rest of your bandmates? Because obviously you guys were playing and like they were your backing band, but like I always see like your posts, it's like, oh, the boys. I'm like, oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yes, they're my boys. They're goofy goobers. So it's true. You don't even know. They're it's like being an All Time Low, but if All Time Low had a girl in the band.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they're just those big, like funny personalities. But anyway, I met most of them at our hometown venue, the Masquerade, because we were all in different bands like 5 or 6 years ago. I was solo. Our bassist Ari and our guitarist Alex were in a band together. So we were all in different projects and we're either on the same bills together, or with Jeremy, our drummer, he was with me the longest in the backing band. I was helping his band out. They needed a keyboardist, so I played a show with them. And then I reached out to him and I said, hey, would you be interested in maybe playing with me or auditioning and seeing how we connected and gelled? So it was first Jeremy and I. And we continued to look for other bandmates. And it's hard. It's hard to pick people that you can relate to personally and also musically. Like you got to have both. Mm-hmm. So luckily in July 2019, after being connected as friends, the Glimmers lineup came together just under my solo name. Mm-hmm. And we played a show in New Orleans, and it was a Paramore cover show.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because it was an annual thing that this friend of ours from New Orleans did. And it was a Blink-182 cover band and a Green Day cover band. And then we were the Paramore band.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
So it was super fun. So we all got closer together on that trip, learned 15 Paramore songs. And it was like a mini vacation. Like it was just fun. We were there for 2 days. We played the show. We just had a great time together. And so from that point forward, we all talked and we were like, this feels good. Like this lineup feels right. Let's keep playing shows. And so then through last March, you know, we played under my solo name. And when the pandemic hit, then I started thinking about what I wanted to do because it felt more like a family. It didn't feel like a solo act anymore. Mm-hmm. So we had a Zoom call and talked about what we all wanted to do. And luckily, everyone was game to make the transition.
How many origin stories are going to be said with, so we had a Zoom call?
Hey, it's true. And we missed each other. We played our last show March 11th, and everything shut down March 13th.
Yeah.
So for 2 months, we didn't see each other. We were on Zoom every other night, talking about this rebrand and just talking about how we wanted to do it. So luckily it worked out. We were very busy, but it paid off.
Well, then how many like bands can also say like, oh, hey, we all like really just bonded like collectively more as a band by being a Paramore cover band for a night?
Right? That's the thing. And it was so cool. And I never thought I would be in another band again. because I had so many crappy experiences, whether it was duos or band projects when I was younger, like a really, really young teen. I just told myself, I was like, I'm never going to be in a band again. It's too difficult. Like, I can't do it. But I always longed to have that connection. So when we all formed, like, it's unlike any other project that I've been a part of. So we are very lucky that we like each other too.
I did want to ask about how you ended up deciding to go from solo to band. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's interesting to me because there are so many people saying, I think like Finn McKenty and mostly Finn McKenty. I was trying to think of another person, but I'm like, it's pretty much just him. It's just like, no, it's solo artists. Like, the people who are sort of setting themselves apart are these artists. Like, I mean, if we're talking just pop punk scene, MGK is not Machine Gun and the Kellys. He's just MGK.
Yeah.
And it's like, as a solo artist, he's doing the music, and then he has the band, which is Travis Barker, as far as I can tell, and creating the music under that. And I think that it's interesting that you made the decision to go to be a band as opposed to still being that, even though it seems like that's where most of the scene is going. I guess.
Yeah. And for us to, like, luckily we all have that same vision of where we want it to go. And like I said, it's difficult because when you're a band, you have to personally click and then creatively click. And so originally, under my solo name, Maggie Schneider, I was doing more singer-songwriter type of music. And I wasn't really doing the kind of pop rock, pop punk inspired stuff that Glimmers is doing now. But the name Glimmers to us, like, represented the music so much better than just Maggie Schneider. Like, we just felt collectively, we originally were thinking maybe make the band Max, like just call it MAGS Max. Kind of like Laney or Law or something like that.
Yeah.
But in the end, we were thinking, like, I don't know if just my name represents the feeling that the music gives off. And even Machine Gun Kelly, like, that's a name that stands for him and represents him, but it's more of a feeling. Like, it doesn't give off solo energy to me, at least.
Yeah. Like a hip hop name or rapper name or like an artist name like that, I guess, could be seen as like, you can do whatever. And if there's going to be a backing, like, he had backing musicians before and it was still not in the rock, genre. It does kind of remind me too of like this interesting transition of things when we were talking about this the other day about Versa Emerge, where Versa Emerge had this sort of thing where they ended up, I think, losing members, and then they ended up breaking up almost entirely because there was this sort of behind the scenes drama that came out. And this is 10 years down the line, so I don't think anybody cares anymore. But essentially that Sierra, the singer, wanted to sort of go more of a solo route, and that, like, there ends up being this thing with the labels or the industry where they're like, yeah, we like this band, but we really think that you're like the standout star, and so we want to make like a career around you. And there was that with like rumors, I think, with Paramore, which is why there were so many things. There's like, Paramore is a band and not just Haley, and not singling her out, even though now she does have a solo record, which I'm like, interesting how that has all transpired down the line. Yeah, it's very interesting to me, like this argument from before where it's like Paramore's a band, but maybe the labels, maybe the industry is like trying to separate Haley out and make Haley more of like the standout star. And then, down the line, there were bands that actually try to do that. And now it's like the opposite, where it's like, no, we want it to not be just somebody's name. We want it to be an artist. We want it to be this idea of the musicians behind it, and that there is a team, and that there is like this more of a collective thing than that.
Yeah. It's interesting how that has shifted. It's so interesting. And I think with like Haley Williams and her going solo, because I love that solo album that she just put out.
Real good.
So good. But I think that's cool that she did that because it doesn't sound like Paramore. Mm-hmm. Like, and I think that says a lot about Paramore being a collective. Like, she didn't put those songs out under Paramore. She put them out under her solo name. And so I think that also gives people the option of, well, hey, if this doesn't sound like the collective, there's always the option of just putting it out solo and seeing how that goes. But yeah, I just remember battling back and forth, like, do I want to change my name before I met the guys and before we even thought about Glimmers? Because I got different advice. Like, I had people saying, I don't know about Maggie Schneider. Like, Schneider's hard to spell, which it is. For a lot of people.
I chucked it like 3 times before we made an Instagram post.
I appreciate that. It's a lot better than Maggie Schneider. So I think it has happened so many times, which I get. It's not a big deal. But yeah, like I thought time and time again, I regret not changing my name. Like, when I would release songs and I'd be like, I don't know if this works anymore. I'm not sure. So also being a part of the band and meeting these guys, it was really right place, right time too. And it just felt right to just transition and change. And I think it did the music a service, because for a lot of people, when you think solo name, you think singer-songwriter, you think more mellow genre, like, especially if it's, Aaron West, like, that project is very different to the Wonder Years. If you think Haley Williams, that's very different to Paramore. So I think it did the music good because the name kind of encompasses the idea rather than just it being me.
There.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because this is what I was thinking while you were saying that too. It's like, okay, so what about Brendan Urie and Panic at the Disco? Because it's like, he lost all the members of the original band and is still doing it, and everybody's always saying like, well, it's just Brendan Urie, it shouldn't be Panic at the Disco. And I'm like, dude, he owns the name. Like, he's going to keep doing it, and he's putting musicians behind it, but also it can't be just Brendan and Urie. It's like, it has to be something, right?
Yeah, that's true. Did he write the first album on his own though?
I believe the first album was written him and Ryan, the guitarist. That's his name, right? Like, why?
Yeah.
I'm like thinking more that it's like not that. And I believe there was some co-writing by Pete Wentz on that as well. But if I remember correctly, Ryan Ross wrote most of that and the second record, and he started writing more on the second record, Pretty Odd. And then when he left the band, it was just him, and then Spencer wrote Vice and Virtues, and then it's been him ever since.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I mean, he does own the name, but you're right. It's like Brendan Urie, that wouldn't have the same appeal. Like, it doesn't have the same message as Panic at the Disco, because that invokes that feeling that he and a bunch of other people have written for. So that's interesting.
I'm also wondering if there's like a gender thing to it, where there are more female solo artists who just go by their regular name, and there are more male solo artists who go by a band name, and this probably has more to do with like the rap community and not using your real name when you are performing, even though you are just one person. And even in rock, it's like there aren't really any like solo male artists who go by just their first last name. Yeah, you're right. It's more so rap or pop stuff. Yeah. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Huh. For me, it was luckily, like I said, I'm glad that I made the jump, because I don't think that continuing to just put music under my solo name, I don't think I would have been happy with that, even branding wise in the end. But yeah, for Glimmers, we're like, it has a positive connotation. And that's for us, like, that's what we want to evoke and express with what we do. So luckily it worked out, and luckily the name wasn't taken. Yeah.
That's also important.
Always.
Yes. Oh, it was such a thrill. I thought of the name late at night and I was like, oh my God, this is probably taken. I'm going to look it up on Spotify. I'm going to see. And no, it was that. It worked out.
At least it's like that quick to like check on it real quick. And you also learn like, okay, let me look on the internet and see if my like hopes and dreams are about to be dashed. You were just like, done, one and done. We're good.
Yes, I know. And it's one word, which I also am so happy about. It's like, thank God it's not Maggie Schneider. It can't be spelled like a pretzel company. It's just Glimmers. Easy.
You could have been the Glimmers too, if you really wanted to just add that extraness to it.
Some of that early 2000s indie stuff.
Yeah.
The Killers.
The Killers, the White Stripes.
The Kooks.
The Vines, the Kooks, the Clash.
Yeah.
They're not from that same time period, but you know what I'm saying.
You know, they just keep it rolling with the thugs.
Yeah, just keep it rolling. Bring back the bands, you know? We're entering a new decade. Let's bring back the bands.
There's a band called The.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it. And then somebody at my former radio station I worked at, they're like, no, this is a band. I said, no, this is a joke. And like they showed it to me. I said, I can't deal with this anymore. I gotta go.
What would their logo be?
I think it was just literally their name, but it was like in like a thicker font and just kind of like maneuvered a little bit more, like manipulated. And I'm like, they just said, we're going to do like kind of, I don't know how this band is, but I'm like, we're going to do like the most pretentious thing that we can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like sometimes with people who don't know the band Camino, I'll be like, you need to check out the band Camino. And they're like, Camino? I've never heard of that band. Yeah. And I was like, no, they're literally called the band Camino, which I don't know what the story behind that is, but it works for them.
I had a joke band back in the day, just band named, and it was after my friend Taylor. She's like, name a band after me. And I'm like, sure. Okay. It's band named Taylor. That's the name of it. And it's like, so I'm like, oh, okay. I heard band Camino. I'm like, I get it. Makes sense. Understood.
Yeah, there you
No
go.
questions.
It's all in like the band name is just your answer to everything. And like, you're like, oh, I'm in this band, the band Camino. That's it. It's just a sentence.
Yeah.
It makes it easy.
Yeah, that's true. Man, they exploded. I love them so much.
They're real good.
Yeah. They're timeless to me. Like we all collectively love that band, but it's interesting how you can't put them really in a genre. Mm-hmm. Like it's weird. Like they can be poppy. They can be more on the rock side. They have the indie emo piano ballads going on too. So I love that. They're so talented.
Yeah. It's interesting you brought them up with All Time Low as like, these are like some of the biggest, I mean, I think band Camino is still kind of up and coming in overall sense. Like, I mean, they did play Lala when we had concerts. So, I mean, they're not like new by any means, but like they're still blowing up and they're still like getting all that attention on them. They put out some really good singles, and then it's like All Time Low. And it's like, is All Time Low on that level now? And they are.
They are. And I love that. Like, it's so cool to see my favorite band who, you know, we're playing Warped Tour 2012, unsigned at that point because they weren't working with Interscope anymore. Like in that place, to being on Fuel by Ramen, to having that song with Black Bear, to getting a feature with Demi Lovato. Like it's so cool to me. It's so cool. And they've been a band for what? Like 15 years-ish?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's what blows my mind is that their two biggest songs right now are their newest song and the song that they first broke out with 15 years ago. It's like, wait, how is Dear Maria also your biggest song right now?
It's that comparison and contrast. I love it.
Yeah. And I mean, TikTok, the power of TikTok, like it's coming back. Also with Machine Gun Kelly, I feel like we as a scene are doing really well right now because we're getting a lot of mainstream representation. Even with like Halsey loves emo and pop punk music.
Halsey,
she's so good. She's so good. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this year has been super, super great for pop punk influenced stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all coming together at the right time. But I love All Time Low. They are my favorite, hands down.
I feel like there's been so much like discourse though added to like, okay, we have MGK and his new record, which is very pop punk.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like All Time Low and everybody coming out. And then there's a lot of people who are like, I don't like that this is becoming mainstream. And then they're like igniting this whole like kind of weird gatekeeping vibe. And I'm like, isn't this all what we all wanted eventually?
Right.
Like if you are in a band, like you want to break out. Like I don't understand because I know even on TikTok, they'll be like, oh, but I've been listening to this band since like 2010. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Do you want a fucking medal? Like, I don't know what to tell you.
We're giving out prizes.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's not a competition. And, like, let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. Mm-hmm. Like, I love pop punk. I love my emo stuff. But I also love the 1975. I also love Lady Gaga. Mm-hmm. Like, I love so many pop, more mainstream acts too. Taylor Swift, like so many. And I hate when people give these looks and make these comments like, oh, ugh, like Taylor Swift. Like, why would you like her?
I'll defend her to the death.
Me too. She's a genius. She is a genius. And the thing is, just let people like what they like.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're less emo than the other person. Like, just, you can enjoy different types of music. It's better, in my opinion.
Agreed. We had, I pretty consistently play You Belong With Me at our emo stuff because I'm like, hell yeah. And then she just did the Taylor's version. I'm like, okay, I'm putting this on the queue for our DJ night. Yeah. And I was brought back to this moment when I did it at Emo Night LA here in Chicago. And like, somebody commented on one of Emo Night LA's Instagram posts and said, yeah, one of your DJs in Chicago played a Taylor Swift song. And like trying to like say like you're not really emo because one guy one time did one thing.
Yo.
They like came back and they were like, I'm so sorry that for that 3.5 minutes you were unhappy.
Dude, we
got the vibe though. Like, is that not what you're looking for when you go to an emo night? Is be sad? You're just like,
song's
I'm
pop
not
punk
happy.
as fuck, dude. Song is so pop punk.
Yes. Look, I think the mark of a good songwriter is you can change the production of the song and it can relate or speak to anyone. Absolutely. Like that song can be country, that song could be pop, that song could be pop punk, like that song could be anything. And for us, we got to guest DJ in Emo Night in Atlanta.
Yeah. And
we put on Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, why not? It's all about nostalgia. Like, people want to dance. Like,
I mean, Carly Rae Jepsen did play a show here in Chicago with Boys Like Girls. It was like the randomest lineup, but I remember it was like at like one of the bigger like amphitheaters in the city. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't get it, but it works.
Yeah,
it vibes.
Yeah, like, look, I was the kid who grew up listening to the Jonas Brothers and early Demi Lovato, because early Demi Lovato is
very pop punk.
Okay, but at the same time loved My Chemical Romance and Green Day and all of those other bands. Yeah. So we want to take inspo from all of it. What's the big deal?
It's so weird. We did Carly Rae at our Emo Night too, but that was because Adam Siska from the Academy was playing bass with her at the time. So we're just like, oh, well, he's not going to play it because he's like, no, I can't play Carly Rae. I'm in Carly Rae's band. It seems weird. I'm like, no, we're playing it. So I put it on right before he came on, and he's like, how could you do this?
That's awesome. I mean, even Dan and Shay, weren't they pop punk kids at once? I feel like they were in a well-known pop punk band.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I only know them as like a country act that was really touted in like the radio scene. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, people like them. Okay. I don't know much about like that type of stuff. So
yeah, I need to look at that. But yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. Yeah. And as musicians, like, I feel like, at least speaking for us, like, we don't want to listen just to one type of music.
No.
Like, it's boring.
You do pop punk from sun up to sundown. That's your life. There's only 3 chords.
you can only re-listen to the same thing in the same nasally voice for so long.
Complain about high school until you die.
Exactly. A Day to Remember is still doing that.
They are crushing it. Man, do they hate Florida, even though they still go back there.
Well, Mayday Parade hates Georgia, but they still come and record here.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Ocala's calling, man.
True.
Yeah, I'm very against gatekeeping overall. And I do think it's really interesting when you look back at like all these people that came from the pop punk scene. Like now we have Halsey who grew up on that and is like, well, I don't want to make pop punk music, or I want to make music that is me and is all the influences of like, including, you know, pop, R&B, dance music, like all of the DJs, Skrillex and all the other DJs who like grew up in like the metal and pop punk scenes and are like, cool, I can do that now with something else and I can put that influence out there. It's like it's happened forever. Like, relax.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm a theater kid. I love musicals. That's how I started performing. And now there's so many more musicals that take more a pop singer-songwriter approach when it comes to the music. And so I take inspiration from that. Like a lot of my writing is influenced by like pop rock musicals. Green Day has a musical, for God's sake.
That is true.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's awesome.
What musicals have you been in?
I've been in a lot. My favorite that I've been in was Spring Awakening.
Okay.
And that one, it's a very dark show. It's a very sad show. Yeah.
I was a theater major in college and did musical theater and stuff. So I have this reference and I'm just like, let's talk about that for a second.
You are my people.
Well,
what even? Yeah, I was Marta in Spring Awakening.
Okay.
I was in Into the Woods. I was the baker's wife in Into the Woods. I was in Seussical. Have you heard of Seussical?
Yes.
I've heard of it, and I heard a lot of that reaction to it, and so I don't know it very well, but I know, like, you know, that reaction to it, basically.
Yeah. When I was, like, 14, I was in that show, and it was our Christmas show at the theater company that I worked at, and I had to be in it for 15 performances, and I wanted to die. It is the most annoying show. For those that don't know, imagine every Dr. Seuss book imaginable into a 2-hour show.
That's too much. That's simply too much.
Yeah, it was a lot.
How did somebody become the Cat in the Hat? Is it as terrifying as the Mike Myers version of Cat in the Hat?
Well, I was the Cat in the Hat.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Funny enough, the Cat in the Hat in the show is the narrator. Okay. So it tries to weave all of these different stories together through the Cat in the Hat, kind of connecting the dots. So I was on stage like 90% of the show. And I had a top hat. I had red and white striped tights. It was a whole thing. Interesting to say the least. But yeah, Into the Woods and Spring Awakening were probably my favorites. And then I also, towards the end of my theater career, I directed a couple of concerts. So I took songs from American Idiot and Spring Awakening and Next to Normal and a bunch of those types of shows and had my friends come and perform in it and just have like a concert of all of the really new type of musical theater that I like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The next Punk Goes Pop is actually going to be Punk Goes Musical Theater.
Please.
Can you imagine how many times I've tried to write that?
I want to see somebody do, because I have only seen I've only seen one like Broadway show ever in my life, and it was the Addams Family musical.
That's a good one.
But I like Chicago. I just want to hear a pop punk version of Cell Block Tango and see how that goes. I just want to know how it goes.
Sick. That'd be real good.
Funny enough, that was one of my favorite songs as a kid. Like I would sing as a 5-year-old, he had it coming. Like, and my mom would die. Like
what did he have coming to him? What did he do to you? You're like, I don't know, but he had it coming.
I don't know. My mom is so cool, and she's a pop punk mom, and she went to Warped Tour. She loves All Time Low and My Chem. She's great.
Oh yeah.
But she introduced me to a lot of stuff, like Chicago, like the music and Bon Jovi and like all of this stuff growing up. And so that was something that she always laughed at, because I would sing that song and not know what the hell I was singing.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining. So there you go. So
yeah.
good.
I remember distinctly being like, Moulin Rouge is my favorite movie. So it's like, just do that, but do it pop punk, do it emo. And like, then there's My Chem and Panic writing just like all these like very theatrical songs. I'm like,
Fall Out Boy.
You could do it. Fall Out Boy. Just add it all in, throw it all together, make it all work. And I'm like, it could happen. And here I am, 34 with a podcast instead. So.
Hey, if you write a pop punk or emo musical, hit me up. I will do it.
Right.
Brian, bring back Shotgun Zombie just for this.
Fuck my band. I will also add that there is Emo the Musical. It's an Australian thing, and it has no emo songs in it.
Oh,
it's just,
that's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you seen it?
Yes.
It's so lame, but I love it because it's so lame.
It's so bad. I expected so much more. I was scrolling through Netflix, I think like a year ago, and I found it. I was like, oh my God, it's an emo musical. What is it? But
it's like
cringy.
They put it out for me. It's so cringy, but
so bad.
I don't know. I do enjoy it, and there are a couple songs in it that are kind of catchy. And it's just like to see this like arrogant kind of gothy emo kid and have these like emo off moments. I'm like, yeah, relative. It is Australian for anybody who hasn't seen it. So it's like, maybe it's a different experience of being an emo kid in Australia. Yeah. I'm like, I wasn't what I experienced in my suburban town, but maybe in your suburban town in Australia, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing we know is that everybody equally hates that suburban town.
Yeah.
True. Oh my God. Yeah. Have you heard of Dear Evan Hansen?
Yeah,
Yes.
I had some friends who are like really big into it. They saw it a few times on Broadway.
Yeah. My mom and I got to see it a couple years ago. I think it was the last time we were in New York, and we cried the entire time. It is like that powerful of a show. And the music is great. Like the music could be pop punk. Like it's so good.
I love that. We need to, like with everything else, it's like we're all just all these emo and pop punk kids are gonna take over everything, and then it's like, nope, all the musicals now. Kids nowadays are gonna be writing musicals in 10 years and be like, nope, it's based off of MGK's Downfalls High, which I guess that also exists as a 45-minute musical on YouTube, so
and
it's already done.
Yeah,
I still haven't watched it.
I haven't seen it either. It just seems like so much.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. It's like less of a storyline. Like it has the storyline, but every song is also like a performance music video. So it cuts to the band playing in different settings, and then you have the story too. Whereas like with our videos, I made sure that our videos like told a story. It was less about performing, but just all story. But his is kind of 50-50 band performance storyline kind of interwoven.
It's kind of like Tierra Wax videos is like what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But with your music videos, so you said earlier, like off Zoom call recording, that they're all kind of like interconnected with each other, so they tell a cohesive story. How and like why were you kind of like thinking that? I know we've talked to a lot of other bands who are also like getting really into like making more immersive music videos, which I find to be really interesting. Yeah, extended universes, because I know that like at least maybe like 5 years ago, I was like, I never watch music videos. I can just pull it up on Spotify. Why am I going to watch a music video? But now it's like, it's coming back, and it's like, and you're going to miss a lot of substance if you don't watch the music video now. Yeah.
Again, going back to my musical theater kid roots, I have always wanted to make either, one music video that tells a really complex story, more like a short film, like more like a movie. And I love John Hughes movies. I love 80s and 90s rom-coms and things like that. So before quarantine happened, I was thinking about, okay, we need music videos. How do we express the feelings of these songs like in the strongest way possible? So then I was watching like Fall Out Boy's Youngblood Chronicles, because they did something similar. Every song had a music video and they all connected. And so then I thought, I love this. Do these songs fit, and can they tell a narrative like Save Rock and Roll does? And so I was listening to all the songs that we had, and I picked the order of how they're being released now and wrote up kind of a rough storyline that goes through each of the songs. And so then I called Deanna, who directs and edits all of our videos. She's amazing. And I told her, I said, I have a really crazy idea. And if you want to do it, then you're just as crazy. And luckily she's always game for everything. And she said, tell me. So I gave her the rundown of what I was thinking in terms of storyline and having them all connect. And she said, bet, let's do it. So we edited the story together. And then the hardest part was shooting the videos on separate days and making sure that the continuity was there. Mm-hmm. That was the most challenging part, because we shot all of the videos in about 12 days total, but they were all staggered days. Yeah. So we didn't do it consecutively like a movie. We were like, okay, we're going to do part of the Not Good at Goodbyes video today and the last bit of Falling. And tomorrow we're going to do this scene of this song. So we had to make sure that, our set was consistent, my hair was consistent, makeup was consistent, like had to do all of those things, but it was so worth it. Mm-hmm. And I love how they turned out. And when the whole EP drops, I want to release all of the songs in one video, mm-hmm. so that it's a continuous flow in addition to watching them episodically. But I love it. Yeah, I love it. It's my baby. I'm super proud of them.
So the way that you release your songs, are those in order of how it plays out in the music video then? Okay.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Not Good at Goodbyes is the beginning. So at the beginning, we have kind of a play-by-play of this relationship of these two characters. And if you've watched it, at the end, they break up. So each of the videos kind of goes through the process of a heartbreak and going through that grief, but also them maybe reconciling. Who knows? Have to watch.
Still the next chapter to be released.
There's one left. Yeah. I'm excited.
Sweet. Well, we've talked for almost an hour, so I want to make sure that we give you a chance for plugs here. Obviously, we were shouting out the music videos. Your Purple Tux video was the most recently released one, I think.
Yeah, that one and By the Lips. By the Lips came out last week.
Okay. So yeah, those are available out there. Where else can people find you, the band, the stuff, all the good stuff?
So Glimmers, our music is available everywhere. So Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you want to stream music, we have it. All of the videos so far are up on Common Ground Collective's YouTube channel. So go check them out in order, or you can watch them separately. They make sense separately too, luckily. And then you can find me on TikTok. It's Maggie Schneider is my username, and that's also my username on Instagram. And my boys are all on social media too. And if you want to check out band socials, we are at Glimmers Band everywhere. So say hi, let's be friends. Hopefully we can play shows soon and meet people in real life.
Right.
Yeah, I know that you guys actually have your own like street team too. So I was like, oh, okay. So there's a street team after. I haven't seen that for a band in a really long time outside of just, having fanfare on like social medias. So I think that's like really cool to like still like try to connect and like kind of bring it back too.
Thank you. Yeah, like I loved street teams. Like growing up, I was in the All Time Low one, like in the Jonas Brothers one as well.
Yes.
Team Jonas.
You guys at meetings together?
Team Jonas. I had that patch somewhere because I was a part of that, and I have the patch somewhere in my house. I have a signed couch by them too.
So cool. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so I loved being in street teams growing up. And what's really cool is every month we try and give like a fun opportunity to a fan in the street team that has done a lot to help promote the music. So we just FaceTimed a really awesome girl named Sarah, who is always so supportive of us. And she's from Canada. So it's really cool. It's really cool to FaceTime different listeners that live, so far out from where we are. And just say hi and thank you and just get to know them. But yeah, we just want to make friends. So if you want to make friends with a punk rock Jessica Day and then 4 goofy goobers who drive me nuts, then hit us up. We're happy to chill.
It's literally just sounding like the show New Girl. The way you're describing it is like if every cast member of New Girl also started a band, that's exactly what Glimmers is. That
is literally what Glimmers is.
Wow.
100%.
I hate how well that works out, but I love it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is us. That is us. When we're on the bus, that's like apartment 4D. So.
I love it so much. Well, yes. If you're listening to this, we're not live. So I'm like looking and seeing like, should we be talking to anybody like in the chat? No one's here. Go listen to Glimmers. Go check. Alice is here. I'll say this all to Alice. This is for Alice right now. Go check out Glimmers. Go listen to the music. Go and watch the videos. As we tell everyone every week, just run those numbers up. Leave it playing on repeat. Just do it. Get those numbers up. Go and interact with Maggie and the band on Instagram and TikToks and all the social media platforms. Maggie, this was so much fun.
I know. Thanks for having me. I've been a fan of you guys for a minute, so I was happy.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I was happy when you reached out, Lizzie. So if y'all were excited, I was twice as excited. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement going around. So I'm very happy that we had you on, and we'll be talking to you again soon, I'm sure. When once you're on the next part of your bucket list and you're doing the next thing, we'll be like, so did that feel cool too? Let's have you back.
Oh yes, no, I will never not be excited. So.
Sweet. Well, thanks again, and goodbye, I guess.
Goodbye. Good day.